Op-ed headlines rolling in, as you might imagine. The whistle blows on Hunter Biden's plea deal, a howitzer round into Biden scandals cover-up. The IRS whistleblower's Biden tune. Gary Shapley's testimony will be hard for Democrats to ignore. In focus now, Leo Terrell, attorney and Fox News contributor. So, Leo, it was like you knew what was coming when you said earlier this week with that sweetheart deal for Hunter Biden, you said, look, the DOJ left their case ongoing. What does that mean now that this whistleblower testimony is public?
Well, I'll tell you, Harris, thanks for having me back, because I was laughing about what you and I talked about a couple of days ago. I mean, they knew what was coming down the pipe with the disclosure of these transcripts from the whistleblowers. And I'll tell you right now, based on what David just said, you have smoking gun evidence that either Merrick Garland has lied to Congress and the American people, and that the basic charges or the plea deal that Hunter Biden received was a sweetheart deal only afforded to him because his father is the president. Harris, I'm telling you that WhatsApp text message and the fact that there is a testimony from a whistleblower who has tremendous credibility. He has no motivation to lie to Congress. I'm telling you right now, the Democrats and the mainstream media cannot ignore these alleged facts right now.
So let me ask you this. Is a deal a deal is a deal? He goes to court on July 26th. He'll sign that plea deal. It'll go through. Can anything stop that with all this new information that's come out?
Yes, that judge, I'm hoping that judge, in the interest of justice, rejects the plea deal. And the judge has that authority. The judge is aware of what's going on, and I'm pretty sure there is information that the judge will look at before he accepts this deal. So yes, the judge can basically reject the plea deal entertained by the Hunter Biden attorneys in the Department of Justice.
Interesting. The last thing David Spunt reported was that this was a Trump-appointed judge. Now, I believe judges are who they are based on their record. But it might give at least this a fair look rather than one that might lean towards, say, a liberal who appointed a judge. Your thought?
I agree with you 100%, Harris. Look, if we, again, believe the whistleblower, he has no reason to lie. You had David Weiss attempting to expand the investigation, to file criminal charges. I would submit to you serious criminal charges against Hunter Biden, but he was denied. Someone's not telling the American public and Congress the truth. Is it David Weiss? Is it Merrick Garland? I have every reason to believe the whistleblower is telling the American public the truth. We need to see what's going to happen in the immediate future, Harris.
Well, that July 26th date just got a lot more interesting. I want to show everybody some key takeaways from the transcript from the whistleblowers. Limiting questions about Dad, the big guy. Hunter team tipped off about storage unit search. Surprise interviews told to take Hunter's name off the official document request. U.S. Attorney David Weiss denied authority to bring charges in 2022. The WhatsApp message showing influence peddling authenticated Hunter's abandoned laptop in November 2019. Wait, limiting questions about Dad and the big guy. That seems to stand out. Why, Leo?
Harris, because you heard Merrick Garland said over and over again, David Weiss has full authority. Really? The point that you just raised, look at bullet point number 4. Let's be clear. If those statements are true, those bullet points, David Weiss did not have authority. He did not have full authority. Merrick Garland had his hands on the process. And I think it defies logic to honestly believe that Merrick Garland, look at his history, they have politicized the Department of Justice, is going to ignore the fact that the president's son is facing not misdemeanor charges, potential felony charges, Harris.
Right. One last one, and I want to go back to the board that we just showed, Dad, big guy, limiting that, and just lean in on that a little bit. There has been conjecture, and Republicans have said that they can eventually show the evidence that that would be the president of the United States, vice president at the time, Joe Biden. If you're limiting questions about the possibilities of who Dad or the big guy, who all of that might be, what does that do to the investigation?
Well, it hampers the investigation, Harris. I mean, you could be a lawyer right now. It hampers the investigation.
I'm just your
friend.
friend.
Basically it prevents the investigator to do his job for a thorough investigation. Right. You go back to this this plea deal. They limited it, Harris, to a couple of years, 2017, 2018. Look at all the overwhelming evidence that has been released the last 24 hours.
All right, one quick one. Does any of this, can you get another bite at the apple, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. If we, again, Harris, you and I are playing head games with the Department of Justice. David White said in that letter brief that there's ongoing investigation. It's still open. So that investigation is open. That's good news and bad news for the Republicans in Congress. They can't get the documents, but the case is not closed.
Right. All right, let's move to this. Democrats have another U.S. Supreme Court ethics target now, Justice Samuel Alito. And just this week, he clapped back at a ProPublica report on a luxury vacation he took with a wealthy hedge fund manager who later had business before the high court. Alito says that it did not qualify as a reportable gift at the time, and he insists he had no clue about any connection to a case. The left, however, won't let go.
Undermines the confidence of the American people in the ability of the Supreme Court to fairly administer justice, and suggests quite clearly to me that there should be a judicial code of conduct.
I'm deeply concerned about it, and while I agree with you, it would be best for the court to adopt its own code of ethics. They're not doing it.
That congressman is deeply concerned. Let's not forget who he is. He himself was censored just this week over his Trump-Russia claims and questions over his own ethics. A new op-ed calls the Justice Alito ProPublica report a, quote, lame hit and a dark money assault on the high court. Leo, your top-line thoughts on this?
I'll tell you, Harris, we've already seen the politicization of the Department of Justice. I want the American people and Fox viewers to know, if the Democrats get their tentacles on the Supreme Court, everything about this country is gone. And that's what they tried. You might recall a couple of years ago, they wanted to pack the court. Well, now they're doing the end round, Harris, and they're basically challenging the ethics of Supreme Court conservative justice. And I'm telling you right now, this is the next battleground. Protecting the integrity of the Supreme Court. Why? Because it keeps a check on the left-wing radicals.
I get that, but are they really interested in protection? Because when there was an assassination attempt on a conservative justice, Brett Kavanaugh, I didn't hear calls for protection for the court. What you're saying is they want to protect their narrative.
Exactly, Harris. You're absolutely right. Look, when Biden took office, they wanted to pack the court. Last year, a year ago, conservative Supreme Court justices were being intimidated and harassed at their homes. The Democrats and the left-wing wackos are trying to do anything and everything to upset the current 6-3 conservative majority. And that 6-3 majority is protecting the integrity and the foundation of this country right now.
Look, and we never got to the bottom of the leak. It matters when there's a leak with with the Roe versus Wade overturn. It matters that got leaked before that action was taken. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable. If we can't protect the U.S. Supreme Court, we can't protect anybody. And that's just sad.
You're right.
Leo Terrell, great to see you. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.